Welcome back, zombie hunters, to another dose of Resident Evil fun facts. In our last video, we dug into some of the most mind-blowing secrets and behind-the-scenes tidbits from the 2002 film, exploring everything from casting choices to deleted scenes. But we've only scratched the surface. Today, we're diving even deeper into the Raccoon City underworld, uncovering even more shocking revelations and hidden gems. So lock your doors and get ready for another journey of Resident Evil madness. And as usual, a quick reminder of heavy spoilers coming up. The backstory behind the rejection of George A. Romero's script for Resident Evil is quite intriguing. While everyone else associated with pre-production liked Romero's script, it faced several challenges. First, Romero took creative liberties with the first game, which Capcom feared that die-hard game fans might not approve of. Additionally, the script included every single T-virus mutant from the game, which would have significantly inflated the budget. Capcom also worried that a faithful adaptation might discourage viewers from buying and playing the games if they could simply watch the movie. Ultimately, the decision was made to create an original story with only a handful of game references. Lastly, Romero's script was deemed excessively gory, even by Resident Evil standards, leading to concerns about an NC-17 rating. Actor David Boreanaz was initially considered for the role of Matt Addison. However, he ultimately declined the part to focus on his television series Angel, 1999. The decision to prioritize his ongoing TV commitment led to a different casting choice for the character in the movie adaptation, with Eric Mabius eventually taking on the role. In one scene, one of the smaller headlines on a newspaper at the end of the film cleverly references the SDRS, or STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Service, from the first Resident Evil video game. Another interesting detail in the movie is that the word zombie is never explicitly spoken, despite the undead creatures being omnipresent throughout the movie. Milla Jovovich had no issues about nudity in her films. However, she requested changes to the original scripted ending. Initially, the script had Alice waking up in the hospital fully nude and spending more time walking through hallways and rooms before venturing outside while still completely naked. Jovovich expressed discomfort with filming the scene where she walked nude on the streets, leading to alterations. The revised ending included Alice wearing something to cover up and finding a shotgun, a modification that added a glimmer of hope into the otherwise bleak scenario. Originally, she would have stood in the middle of a destroyed street completely naked, surrounded by roaring monsters as night fell. There's another subtle nod to the game franchise near the end of the film. As the underground tram returns to the mansion station, the serial number on the front of the lead car reads, Alexei, followed by a string of digits. Fans of the game series will recognize this reference, as it alludes to Alexia Ashford, the final antagonist in Resident Evil Code Veronica. Additionally, underground trams play a recurring role as a mode of transportation throughout the Resident Evil games. The cityscape shown near the elevators in the Hive is actually San Francisco. This subtle detail adds to the immersive atmosphere of the underground facility, where the T-virus outbreak turns staff members into flesh-eating zombies. The juxtaposition of the iconic cityscape with the eerie underground environment creates a memorable visual contrast. Set designer Richard Bridgeland went to great lengths to achieve the underground aesthetic. To capture the right atmosphere, he visited nuclear bunkers in both the UK and Europe, drawing inspiration from their unique architecture and design. This commitment to authenticity contributed to the film's immersive portrayal of the Hive, an underground facility teeming with danger and secrets. Among fans, the German version of Resident Evil movie is notorious for its exceptionally poor dubbing. In fact, some have humorously referred to it as a pornosynchro, highlighting the subpar quality of the voiceover work. While dubbing can significantly impact a film's reception, this particular version seems to have left a lasting impression for all the wrong reasons. An interesting technique was used to create the appearance of blood on Rain's head near the end of the movie. Instead of using actual blood, red hair dye was applied to achieve the desired effect. The crows that Alice encounters at the beginning of the movie are not real birds. Instead, they are digitally created using special effects. This decision likely stems from the difficulty of controlling a large flock of real crows for the specific shots required. Using digital crows allowed for more precise control over their movements and behavior, ensuring they aligned with the desired visual aesthetic and narrative purpose. The wedding picture of Alice and Spencer in the film is a deliberate nod to the earlier games in the Resident Evil franchise. It shares a visual style with the in-game photos from the first and second Resident Evil games, featuring subjects positioned close-up and superimposed onto a background image in black and white. This stylistic similarity serves as a visual cue, hinting at the connection between the movie and the game series and potentially foreshadowing Alice's involvement in the Umbrella Corporation's dark secrets. The cover art of Resident Evil depicts Alice wielding G36C assault rifle with a grenade launcher, a powerful weapon that would be a formidable tool against the undead hordes. However, this firearm is never seen or used in the actual film. Alice is exclusively armed with a handgun throughout the movie, which creates a sense of vulnerability and emphasizes her resourcefulness in surviving the dangerous situation. Matt's claim of being a recently transferred cop in the film might be a subtle nod to Leon S. Kennedy, a central character in Resident Evil 2. Leon's backstory involves him being a rookie cop who is assigned to Raccoon City on his first day on the job, just as the zombie outbreak begins. By having Matt mention his recent transfer, the filmmakers could be creating a parallel between the two characters, hinting at a possible connection or influence. The original script for Resident Evil included a subplot involving commandos arriving at the mansion by helicopter. This element would have added a sense of urgency and external threat to the film, as the characters would have been aware of a larger operation taking place. Although this subplot was ultimately cut, there are still remnants of it present. In the scene where Rain and Matt are arguing, the sound of a helicopter can be heard in the background, suggesting that it was originally intended to be a more significant part of the story. Additionally, the commandos' entry into the hive through the windows via rope is a clue that they were originally supposed to have arrived by helicopter, as they would have landed on the roof. This subplot would have also been a reference to Brad Vickers, a character from the original Resident Evil game who was rescued by a helicopter after being trapped in the Spencer mansion. During the production, director Paul W.S. Anderson encountered clashes with the studio, especially following his experience with Event Horizon 1997. Frustrated by these conflicts, Anderson sought financing in Europe. Germany's Constantine Film and the UK's New Legacy stepped in to provide the necessary funding. Interestingly, Sony Screen Gems came on board to distribute the film halfway through the pre-production process. This collaboration between European financing and Sony's distribution played a crucial role in bringing the iconic zombie franchise to the big screen. And the visual effects were exclusively handled by the Computer Film Company, a London-based special effects studio. This movie shares a thematic similarity with the video game Resident Evil Survivor, in how the characters in the movie and the game are experiencing memory loss. In Survivor, the protagonist's amnesia plays a central role in the narrative, as they gradually regain their memories and uncover the truth behind the events surrounding them. While the amnesia plot in the Resident Evil movie is not as prominent, Alice's struggle to remember her past and her connection to the Umbrella Corporation echoes the central theme of memory loss explored in Survivor. While the Resident Evil film was only loosely based on the existing games, it later served as inspiration for subsequent installments in the franchise. The iconic laser corridor sequence was later referenced in Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles. Additionally, The Umbrella Chronicles featured the Red Queen AI, a central character from the 2002 film, and included a thrilling sequence involving an attack on a high-speed train wagon within an Umbrella complex. These elements demonstrate the film's influence on the development of the Resident Evil franchise and its ability to contribute to the series' ongoing evolution. Roger Ebert's scathing review of Resident Evil was particularly harsh, placing the film on his most hated list. He took issue with the film's lack of scientific plausibility, criticizing the exaggerated sound effects, such as doors slamming without being touched, and the zombies' unrealistic movements, which he described as the lurching shuffle of a drunk trying to skate through Slurpees to the men's room. Ebert also criticized the film's plot holes and lack of character development. Despite his overall negative assessment, he did acknowledge the effectiveness of the laser corridor sequence, recognizing its visual appeal and suspenseful atmosphere. His review, while highly critical, sparked debate among fans and critics alike, highlighting the film's divisive nature and its ability to elicit strong reactions. The scene of Alice waking up naked in the shower is likely a remnant of a scrapped scene from an earlier version of the script. It appears to be based on a similar scene involving Jill Valentine in one of the original game scenarios. In this discarded scene, Jill is attacked by a chimera monster while showering, forcing her to fight for her life unarmed and naked. The monster even attempts to rape Jill, adding a disturbing element to the encounter. This scrapped scene was ultimately removed from the final version of the game, but its influence can be seen in the shower scene with Alice, which retains some of the original concept's elements, albeit in a less explicit form. Michaela Dicker, the actress who portrayed the Red Queen in the film, had a prior working relationship with director Paul W.S. Anderson. The two had previously collaborated on the made-for-television horror film The Sight, 2000. This connection likely played a role in her casting for the Red Queen, as Anderson was familiar with her acting abilities and felt she would be a suitable fit for the iconic role. Notably, Resident Evil marked Dicker's final acting role, as she chose not to pursue a full-time film acting career. Her performance as the Red Queen remains a memorable highlight of her limited filmography. Milla Jovovich was barefoot throughout the film's latter stages. This unconventional choice, while unusual for a major action film, was not a challenge for Jovovich. Prior to Resident Evil, she had starred in the film $1 Million Hotel, in which she spent a significant portion of her screen time barefoot. This experience likely made her comfortable and confident in performing scenes without shoes, adding a unique and memorable element to her portrayal of Alice. Contrary to the common misconception, George Romero's rejected script was not the only draft considered for the Resident Evil film adaptation. Before Romero's involvement, Constantine Films bought the rights for the movie adaptation in January 1997 and commissioned Alan B. McElroy, who was a seasoned screenwriter known for his work in action flicks such as Rapid Fire, 1992, horror films like Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, 1988, and Wrong Turn, 2003. As well as being co-writer in Todd McFarlane's Spawn series, 1997 to 1999, to write a script. McElroy's draft, though considered strong, was ultimately rejected. It's important to note that McElroy was also working on the script for the Doom film adaptation during this time, which was also rejected among several others until the movie was finally made in 2004, further highlighting the competitive nature of video game movie adaptations. Several other scripts from different writers were also rejected before Constantine Films finally settled on Paul W.S. Anderson's draft, which was originally intended for a different project but was adapted for the Resident Evil franchise. Alan B. McElroy's rejected script was described as a highly action-packed and violent adaptation. It closely followed the plot of the original game, featuring the disappearance of campers and park rangers in Raccoon Forest, leading to the deployment of SWAT teams and eventually, a military special forces team composed of characters from the game. The script emphasized intense action sequences, including encounters with zombies, zombie dogs, and other mutated creatures. Team members would face constant challenges, running low on ammunition and navigating through areas filled with the dead, uncertain which ones might be reanimated. The script also included tense moments, such as being cornered by zombies and a giant tarantula, or trapped in a service elevator surrounded by giant hornets. One particularly disturbing scene mentioned was Jill Valentine's shower scene, where she would potentially be stalked by a monster while unarmed and defenseless. McElroy's script aimed to capture the horror, action, and suspense of the original game, but ultimately, it was not the direction the filmmakers chose for the film adaptation. Natasha Henstridge was considered for the role of Jill Valentine in early drafts of Resident Evil and its sequel. Her casting was potentially influenced by her performance as the alien hybrid Sil in Species, 1995. Japanese supplemental material for Resident Evil 2 explicitly cited Species as a source of inspiration for the video game franchise, specifically referencing Henstridge's portrayal of Sil. This connection suggests that her character and species may have resonated with the creators of Resident Evil, leading to her consideration for the role of Jill Valentine. While she ultimately did not appear in the films, her name was associated with the franchise due to this early consideration. The scene of Alice waking up in the bathroom and finding a handwritten note is a direct homage to Total Recall, 1990. In both films, the protagonist wakes up with amnesia and discovers a clue that suggests their memory has been erased. In Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character finds a note that says, "For a good time ask for Melina," written on it, and he attempts to rewrite it to see if he can recognize his own handwriting. Similarly, Alice in Resident Evil finds a note that says, "Today, all your dreams come true," and tests her own handwriting against it. This shared element serves as a clear reference to Total Recall, indicating that the filmmakers were likely inspired by the earlier film's plot and themes. The disappearance of the military commando bodies after returning to the laser hallway after their death is a direct reference to a similar mechanic in the video games. In the games, the bodies of enemies often vanish if the player leaves an area and then returns, a mechanic that adds to the unsettling and mysterious atmosphere. Kaplan's lines in the film specifically highlight this phenomenon, drawing attention to the connection between the film and the game series. This detail serves as a subtle nod to fans of the franchise, demonstrating the filmmakers' attention to the source material and their desire to incorporate elements from the games into the film's narrative. This film is unique among the franchise's films in that it features no main characters from the video games. Instead, the film focuses on the villains. Notably, Matt is revealed that he will become the Nemesis from the third game. Nemesis' backstory was not provided in the games themselves. Additionally, Jason Isaacs makes a brief cameo as Dr. William Birkin, a prominent villain from the second game. In contrast, all subsequent sequels in the franchise introduced at least one main character from the games. Milla Jovovich revealed in an interview that she almost quit the film because she was unsatisfied with some significant script changes, all revolving around Michelle Rodriguez's character of Rain. An original script by Paul W.S. Anderson, she was the one who got killed by zombies when they first attacked the team. Anderson changed it so that JD is the one who dies during the attack. According to him and others, another big part of the script Anderson kept changing was the ending. An early version of the script, with the original title Undead, when it wasn't written as a Resident Evil adaptation, the ending was similar to the one in the film but a lot darker, with Alice waking up in a hospital, but in the script she has no clothes on and walks outside naked, and hears all the monsters roaring throughout destroyed streets, implying that she has no chance and that they're coming for her. In Anderson's later drafts, when he changed the script, instead of the hospital she was held captive inside some facility very similar to the one where she is interrogated by Jill Valentine in Resident Evil Retribution before escaping due to power failure, but the scene where she goes outside was the same like in first draft. Anderson did later reuse part of this scene in fifth film. There were few different versions of the ending in which Matt turns into monster, but not Nemesis like in the sequel, and encounters Alice when she wakes up. In one ending, he has completely lost his memory and corners her in the room where she wakes up, and the film would cut to credits, leaving it ambiguous to what happened next. Although in one draft he helps Alice to get out of facility and leaves her to escape on her own, while in another draft they stay together. The ending which they almost went with had both Alice and Matt being captured by Umbrella but are released from their facility by another AI called White Queen after T-Virus spreads throughout the world, and this draft, which can be found and read online, ended with Alice and Matt becoming lovers and driving an armored camper vehicle across deserted roads. However, only one alternate ending that was scripted was actually filmed, and it was a sequel bait ending where Alice escapes from Umbrella and then months later goes back to rescue Matt. Anderson ultimately cut this as he felt it didn't fit the tone of the film, and eventually went with the final theatrical ending, as he liked the bleakness of Alice surviving one nightmare, only to wake up to another. The transformation of Matt's arm at the end of the movie is a practical effect, achieved without the use of digital technology until the final stages. The filmmakers opted for a more traditional approach, using prosthetics and makeup to create the physical appearance of the mutated arm. Digital effects were only employed at the very end of the sequence to enhance the grotesque appearance of the mutating arm, ensuring a visually striking and impactful conclusion. Jason Isaacs made a brief, uncredited cameo as Dr. William Birkin. His appearance was intended to set up a larger role for Birkin in potential sequels, allowing for the exploration of his backstory. However, due to Jason Isaacs' unavailability for Resident Evil Apocalypse, the character was written out of the film. To fill the void, Ian Glenn was cast as Dr. Isaacs, a character created specifically for the sequel. Interestingly, the name Dr. Isaacs was retained as a tribute to Jason Isaacs, reflecting the friendship between the actor and director Paul W.S. Anderson. This creative solution allowed for the inclusion of a character inspired by the original video game while accommodating the scheduling constraints of the actors involved. The scene where Matt encounters his sister as a zombie echoes a similar moment in Resident Evil Code Veronica. In both instances, a character is forced to confront and ultimately witness the death of a loved one who has been transformed into a zombie. Steve Burnside in Code Veronica faces the tragic task of killing his own father, now undead, while Matt in the 2002 film must grapple with the horrifying reality of his sister's transformation. And that concludes all the fun facts and hidden details we have for this flick. We hope you enjoyed these intriguing revelations and mind-blowing deep dives into the Resident Evil universe. From Easter eggs to behind-the-scenes trivia, there's always something new to uncover in this iconic horror film. Stay tuned for more fascinating content in our upcoming episodes, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends so they don't miss out on the fun, and subscribe to our channel to receive all of our updates for our future videos. Until next time, stay sharp and peace out.